everybody, it's Drybear. A new hotfix has landed for the First Descendant, and this one is juicy. It contains a bunch of changes that people have been wanting for a very long time that we were starting to think that they were not going to cave in on at all. I just got to start with the coolest one by far, at least in my opinion. This is something that people have been asking for a very long time. We were starting to think it was never going to happen, but they have, with the update this morning, have changed it so that all of the reactors in the game can only drop with the element that they belong to. So attribute power boost ratio is now only available for that attribute. Chill only drops chill. Non-attribute only drops non-attribute, fire only drops fire, toxic only drops toxic, electric only drops electric, and HP heal modifier can only be acquired from non-attribute right now, which I think that's primarily because all of the healers are going to be in that category as well. Now, one thing I'm curious about, if you guys can just keep me updated, is I went through all my reactors. I didn't obviously I wouldn't keep any bad ones, but I'm curious if they went back and retroactively updated the ones that were bad, but check your reactors and see if they actually did. If not, it's awesome that not only do we have the improved reactor drops for the weapon type, but we also have the element now being aligned with the reactor. So now you're just looking for good stats, and it's now even easier to get the right stats on them, which I think is a huge win for TFT players everywhere. They also made Gluttony and Molten Fortress available for single player play, which I think is huge and awesome in a lot of ways. So these two fights were probably the biggest gap, and I think as the player base evolves and grows, you get new people into the game, and you start getting a rift between the veteran players and the new players. The veteran players have cleared all of Deathstalker, Gluttony, they have all their weapons, they have all their drops, they have no need to play Molten Fortress or Gluttony or Deathstalker all that much, which means the queues are going to be a little bit more sparse. And I think it's great that for this older content, they're making it so that new players that are coming in don't hit that Gluttony wall without having the support of veteran players there to help group through it. So what they've done is made both of those single player. You can single player Gluttony if you want, you can single player Molten Fortress if you want, and they've made some nerfs to those bosses as well. Let me know what you think about this. I know some people don't like the fact that, you know, the hard bosses get nerfed. I think once the content gets old enough, it's probably fair game, but let me know what you think about these change overall. For Molten Fortress, if you get a beam to line up once, it won't break ever again. You don't have to worry about the pylon. It won't break again. You're good to go, which means in solo, you just have to go around and get all the beams connected. You're done. That's it. Good to go. No worries. They adjusted the number of roly-polies summoned by the Molten Fortress from 8 to 4 during the normal state and 6 during Frenzy. So you will have your ammo requirement, but they're not going to be spamming you as much for damage being taken. And they also made it so that when Molten Fortress enters the Frenzy state, he does so less often. So that not only will you be able to one-cycle him doing the little pylons once a lot more commonly, but also just going to be less likely for him to do 2 or 3. And especially since the Frenzy state is going to be so much shorter now because of this, right? Like you'll be able to finish the beams, they won't break, and you can keep going. It's going to be a breeze. They also massively nerfed Gluttony on top of them being available for single player play as well, which is a big change. They just did impurity be drawn to Gluttony when they are within a 15-meter radius of Gluttony. This is just going to make it easier to get them onto him. They adjust the amount of wipe attack gauge that increases when the unstable energy is absorbed by half. 20% to 10%, which means the frenzy meter is going to go up way slower if you ever get the balls on top of him. Unstable energy explosions required to cancel the frenzy state are now doubled. I'm guessing doubled in size or doubled in amount. They just say doubled, but making it easier to cancel. Getting him out of it's going to be way easier and require less skill to do so. Gluttony now moves around the center of the map more frequently. I'm hoping this means that he's just in the center more often and not on the edge, which means that some of the far away spawns for the bubble creators are easier and more accurate to line up with. Adjusted the cooldown of Gluttony's melee attack to 20 seconds from 5 seconds, a massive nerf on the melee attack. They also adjusted the basic shotgun attack so that it can be used at close range. So he won't do the melee attack as much, but he will do the shotgun attack up close. He now enters the frenzy state less frequently, and he also does 47% less damage overall. His attack is just greatly reduced. So you can solo him. He should be very easy to solo and farm now. along with Molten Fortress, which would be a good option for not only getting Peacemaker, but also getting some of the module drops as well and opening amorphous materials for those for that style of content. For Descendant Balance, they adjusted the duration of active camouflage for Ultimate Sharon when you have ambushed from 4 to 6, and again, it does reset as well, which is really nice. They adjusted the cooldown of some of Keelan's skills. Septic Gust went from 60 seconds to 35 seconds at base. They just buffed the ever-living crap out of Keelan in this patch. I guess it just wasn't enough, or they just wanted him to feel really strong. Tremor goes from 80 seconds to 60 seconds at base without module moderation, which is going to be crazy. Keelan's skill module Focus on Prey adjusted the damage per acidic decay stack of Tremor. Level 1 goes from 470% to 655%. Level 2 is 480 to 670. Level 3 is 488 to 683. And level 4 is 494 to 692. An average of 200% more attack on the per acidic decay of Tremor. They adjusted the cooldown of the Void Corrosion skill from 10 to 8 seconds. They adjusted the Mobile Strike skill module cooldown on Hunting Time from 150 seconds down to 55, like a 3 times multiplier on the cooldown there. Adjusted the cooldown of Adventurer's Spirit effect by Hunting Time from 3 to 4 seconds, and it's now affected by the skill duration increase stat. Keelan is just insanely buffed from this. Keelan cannot move to a higher position by using the Onslaught skill while the Adventure Spirit is active, and they did say that they want to do a elevation limitation on this eventually to try and get this to work well, and this is probably them like moving towards that change in the future. They also changed it so that you can go to Special Operations over here and go private. If you wanted to do a solo Special Operations, you actually can now. Like, this is actually a big part of the update. So like, not only can you solo Molten Fortress and Gluttony, but you can also solo Special Operations. So if you really just want to be self-sufficient, they're making that more and more possible as the player base fluctuates through seasons. And I think that's just going to be an interesting change, but let me know if you think it's going to be a negative as far as like getting people to group up and play together. And also along the matchmaking side of things, if more people start playing solo, what does that mean for parties and things like that? Now, they did mention the difficulty level will not be adjusted according to the number of players. So you have to be very well equipped to be able to solo these Special Operations, but you'll be able to participate in this solo if you'd like. It will still hopefully encourage you to do groups, because I think it's probably better in that case. They also changed the sphere mechanic of commander monsters that appear in the following content for the monster, like 2 monster exterminations. So instead of the floating sphere immunity, they now move to the monster extermination. So for Kingston, Slumber Valley, Magister's Lab, and Albion, Resource Defense, normal, hard. The mobs that spawn won't have the immunity like spheres anymore. Sterile Land, Unknown Laboratory, Forgottents, Kuiper Refinery, Repository, the Strategic Outpost in Repository, and the Kuiper Mine Blockade on normal will no longer have the immunity spheres. Vespers, the Shelter, Void Fusion Reactor, Ruins, Void Fusion Reactor, Lost Supply Depot, and Moonlight Lake, the Strategic Outpost as well. Fortress Quarantine Zone, Albion Resource Defense, all removing the immunity spheres, and I think that's awesome. It makes the game, I feel like the immunity spheres in a lot of cases just felt more annoying than it was enjoyable, so, you know, that going away, I think that's awesome. Amorphous material patterns that can be obtained from outposts in each zone can now be earned by infiltration operations in that same zone, which looks like this. So now if you go into the infiltration operation queue and check it out, you'll notice that there's now way more selection. So not only can you get the normal 2, like the variants and the odds and evens that you have for the dungeon, but now you can also get like the fractal pattern, like connects looking pattern ones that you normally get from the outpost, including these like the stealth one as well. So you get like the regular one and you can get the stealth one, all from just doing the dungeon, on top of the fact that we have the random dungeon. So if you need any of the amorphous from a zone, either from the infiltration operation odd or even, or from the outpost or odd or even, you can then select it and then just hit random dungeon, and you can just queue and grind and grind and grind and grind until you get everything you need without having to worry about the drops, which I think is a decent solution. Hopefully they get the outpost to feel better sooner rather than later, at least in Season 3, because I think this is a solution for the drops, not for the experience, but it is nice to have as an option if you just wanted to play dungeons. And they also said that falling or canceling grappling hooks no longer counts as jumping. I think this fixes the major problem with being able to double jump and failing your double jump, and confirmed they actually did. This drove me nuts. So the way this used to work is if you fell, any amount of distance, it would count as your first jump, which means, or it would count as a jump, which means you wouldn't be able to double jump. And this probably happened to you all the time, where you would be like running and you would want to double jump across a gap to get to the other side, but something like very small, like you may like have just stepped off the ledge and then you try to jump, but you already jumped, so it wouldn't let you double jump. You wouldn't get that first jump, right? You would, because this counts as a jump, apparently. They fixed it now, so you can actually just fall off a ledge and then double jump to the next one, which is nice, which means that you won't be missing those jumps as much. This is a huge quality of life. Maybe it's small to some people, but to me, it's really big. There are tons of dungeons that I would speedrun and try to get through, like Mystery's End, where you'd go through and try to get the second jump, and it would fail, and you'd fall, and you'd have to do it again. Huge win. This is a nice one. They improved the library to display the research progress and the details based on the actual research status. And on PC, opening the ring menu now moves the cursor to the center of the ring menu. The first one showing research progress was huge. I hope they add this to the mini map as well, so we get more of that stuff on there. They added a quick turn option for console to help you not have to hold your analog and go into 180 degrees. The button for this feature is not included in the default settings and needs to be set separately. If sprint is set as the movement option, using L3 makes it easier to use that. When a commander monster phase changes, the movement location guide is now displayed for a longer duration, and the difficulty of Valby's evolving skin quest has been reduced by a large amount, 10,000 to 3,000, 20,000 to 6,500, so down to like between 20 and 35% of what it was before. Personally, for me, I think the Valby skin looks good, but it doesn't feel like an evolving skin. All the ones look the same to me. But for the people that like the Valby skin, it is now way easier to activate the evolving aspects to it. And then from then, they just did a whole bunch of bug fixes, which we don't have to go through right now. But hopefully in here is just some polish and some performance for you as well. Let me know what you think about the patch down below and these big changes finally being put into the game and making the game, I guess, a little bit more quality of life friendly.
If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.